Hey guys, it's me, Mini Big Jack 24 here, and today I'm going to be reacting to the French Revolutionary War, Part 1 by OverSimplified. And before I begin, let's just make this very clear, is that all the copyright belongs to OverSimplified, and I make no claim on his video whatsoever, so all the copyright just belongs to him and to the music holders, as I'm just here just to react and not to attempt to copy his video. I'm only saying this because I keep annoyingly getting copyright strikes just for not mentioning this, which really does annoy me since I can't just keep on reacting to videos without me saying that first.
This video was made possible by NordVPN. Get protected by clicking the link below and get an amazing 75% off. That's only $2.99 per month with an additional month free for a limited time. Also, new French Revolution merch available now in the store, including King Louis and Marie Antoinette character pins, complete with detachable heads, just like the real thing.
In case you don't know what he was talking about, it was that pretty much that the king and queen of France at the time of the French Revolutionary War, well, they were beheaded by guillotine, which makes sense.
So I said to the Marquis de la Fayette, "What do you think I am? Some dirty peasant? I've never worked a day in my life." Wow, that Marie Antoinette sure is pretty. Sure is. Wouldn't want to be Prince Louis, though. That's going to be a lot of responsibility when he becomes king, especially since France is in financial ruin. Quite. Thank you one and all for attending the royal marriage of my grandson, the future King of France, to the Archduchess of Austria. Now for the very awkward yet historically accurate part of the ceremony, where we all watch them get into bed together.
Yeah, he wasn't lying when he said that was accurate.
All right, now that's out of the way, let's leave the royal couple to it. You better give us an heir, you fat, ill-bred boy. Nighty-night.
Now, that was harsh.
That's going to be a lot of responsibility. France is in financial ruin. You fat, ill-bred boy. Quite. That's going to be a lot of responsibility. France is in financial ruin.
I feel like I've seen this before, but is this like a reference to something? Like, I get that it's foreshadowing, like, what's going to happen next, but like, where this style is, where, like, where it's like that. I feel like if I've seen something like that before, like, if you know, like, where this thing is from, like, like, the person's conscious, just thinking all around him. Just tell me where that's from, and I'll probably recognize it.
Oh, great. He's a freaking weirdo.
Alright, that was the appropriate reaction to that.
France, the most prosperous, cultured, and beautiful nation in the world, as it had been for centuries. An exquisite social culture, with the king and the upper classes throwing crazy parties every night, enjoying high living and fine dining. Who cares that they were only able to do so off the backs of the hard-working, starving poor? What are they gonna do? Revolt? They're only 80% of the population. No. Life in France is great. What's that, France? You want to go to war with Britain and increase your power? Go for it, little buddy. You do you. And you lost. Now,
I'm not gonna lie, that's pretty much what happened. Well,
severe financial debt.
mostly, the 7 Years' War pretty much just turned the tides for Prussia and for Great Britain. For Great Britain, Britain got the territories of North America and I believe most of India at the time. And Prussia got to show everyone who's boss and who gets to keep on thriving.
money. What do? Should we stop partying? Heck no. Party harder. That's okay. The peasantry will pick up the slack. They were created by God to do all the work, and you were created to reap all the benefits and party hard. That's just how society works, and we've all just accepted.
Well, that's pretty much on how it worked back then. Now, I guess you can say that's sort of the same, but not really for any more case. Any more for this case. It depends on where you're from for this.
For centuries. Why? Why what? Why do the nobility get to be all rich and stuff? Just because they were born into it? And the rest of us schmucks just have to accept that? Hell, why do we even need a king?
He's spilling his beer.
Who decided that? It all just seems very unfair and unequal, and I, for one, am starting to question it. Wow, that's very enlightened of you.
Wait, hold on. Very enlightened? But is this supposed to be a philosopher? Can you tell me that in the comments down below?
And so began the Age of Enlightenment. Great philosophical thinkers across France and beyond began to question whether this beautiful nation was really all that beautiful after all. Hey, Prince Louis, bad news. Your grandpa died of smallpox this morning, which means good news, you're now the king. So just to sum up, France is in severe financial debt, and the angry populace are beginning to question how necessary you are. But hey, I believe in you, champ. You got this. Maybe. Oh, no. Prince Louis
Yep, my exact reaction as well.
became King Louis XVI in May 1774. He was a notoriously weak man, and he knew it. He barely had the wisdom to rule a nation, never mind one in crisis, and he was easily manipulated.
Ooh. Alright, so this is France's economy. We're rich. We're losing money. Small party time. We have no party. Party to forget. Oh, it's just pretty much keep saying go there, and he's being manipulated. Wow.
By those around him. One of his first acts was to try to get revenge on the British by financing their American colony's revolution. Hey, we're an independent nation now. That was real swell of you, Louis. Couldn't have done it without you. Glad I could help. So hey, about all that money we lent you, when can we get that back? Yep, you're a great guy. I'll never forget what you've done for us. Real glad I could help, friend, but about that money, gotta go now, chum. Best of luck to you. Oh, no. And now,
Yeah, so pretty much we took the money, boom, became America. America, that's how America sort of formed, minus hard work and war efforts to push off the British, which is what happened, and so pretty much America had to pay all back to Britain, and so in that case, France pretty much got nothing.
France was in even more debt. France is poor, suffering under the strain of economic ruin. Watch
Well, France also got a new ally out of it.
the nobility continue to live as though nothing was wrong. In particular, they grew increasingly disdainful of the Queen, Marie Antoinette, as she continued to spend all of France's money on her own luxurious lifestyle and fashion, while the
What? Like, I sort of get that, but wow. Wow.
continued to spend all of France's money on her own luxurious lifestyle.
Did Jay actually have an elephant, or is he just exaggerating on that? But wow. No wonder they are going to revolve. Hold on. No, not revolve. Yeah, no. Yeah, they're going to revolve against us. Yeah, I was just making sure that I got the right words, and sometimes I confuse revolve and a few other words differently.
And fashion, while the peasants were breaking their backs in the fields, she was walking around like, hey, my hair is about.
He's not making that up.
I'm not making that up. Her hair really was about. And her lavish spending earned her the nickname Madame Deficit. And speaking of the Queen, there was also a long-standing scandal around the fact that the king took a very long time to boink her, and the
Alright, so pretty much he got married and he still hasn't boinked his wife. Wow. Yeah, that is either A, dedication, or very, 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 very awkward situation.
Classes of Paris began ridiculing the royal couple with lewd pamphlets depicting the queen as a court thought and the king as a wuss, unable to fulfill his marital duty. Respect for the monarchy was at an all-time low, as France's finances were spiraling out of control, and the king and his aides really only had one solution to the crisis: tax the poor. Tax the poor. We could do a sexy calendar shoot.
Yeah, do a sexy calendar shoot. That always works.
I mean, tax the poor. And so it was. The poor, who were already struggling to make ends meet, found themselves being taxed from every direction. Hey, I'm the royal tax collector. Looks like you've yet to pay your income tax, head tax. By the way, how many windows you got in that house of yours? 3? Oof. Yep, there's gonna be a tax for that. Hey, your local priest here. Have you paid your church tithe yet? Well, at least this one is going to the good work of God.
Well, since you guys do know, if you guys are new, I'm pretty much an atheist. So yeah, I knew that religion was a huge part of the European sides of history. So I'm just gonna say this, and yeah, so pretty much, you can believe that. Yeah, we can say that that would be going to the good work of. Sorry, I sort of had something light to eat like right before I did this. Quote, God, God. Yeah, that's definitely where the good work is going for.
Sure. God. I think this year God wants me to buy a new swimming pool. Hey,
See, even he reference what I was saying.
private tax collector here. Oh, and I brought some goons with me. Just a few quick questions. How much salt did you buy this year? About 7 kilos, I think? Yep. Oh,
Hold on, let me just quickly do a quick thing. How many kilos is in a pound? All right, because since I'm about 15.5 pounds of salt. Wow. All right. Well, that's a lot of salt.
there's gonna be a tax for that. Oh, what's that over there? And that's extra salt I held over from last year, so I wouldn't have to buy as much this year.
Now that's a smart idea, but if that's a tax collector, guess what's about to happen?
Oh, yeah, there's a tax for that. And what are you doing with all this salt? Well, obviously cooking. Mm-hmm. On the table. Yep. And preserving fish and meat. Oh,
Which back then they didn't have refrigerators, so they would use salt to preserve both meat and fish. Fish. And yeah, that it would sort of take out most of the moisture out of the meat, but like it's still able to cook. Might be fine. Might have very good seasoning, depending on the salt.
oh no. Yep. And there's a tax for that. Hey, how old is he? He's 9. And so he's purchased his required amount of salt for this year, right?
What? What? He's 9. No, he's not going to know anything about buying stuff. Like, you do know that if you tell a kid to buy stuff, and that they don't even know like how to buy it, then they're just going to buy something else, and it's going to be very bad.
No, he's 9. Uh-oh. Sorry, little Timmy. Looks like I'm gonna have to tax you for that. Yep. Salty. There's gonna be a tax for that.
Well, I'm sick and tired of there being a tax for everything, but let's face it here. Tears are just salty. Like, let's face it. Let's face it. Let's face it, they are. They are. They are. They are salty naturally, so it's not gonna. So yeah, that shouldn't really be a tax, but you get the point that he's making.
And that's not all. A huge portion of the peasants' harvest had to be given up, and there was also the labor tax, where peasants were required to work a certain number of days for their local lord without pay. Obviously, people weren't too happy with these taxation policies, and the aggressive nature of these private tax farmers sometimes even escalated to violence. In particular, though, the people really hated how inconsistent the taxation rules were across the nation, and also the fact that the first two estates often had to pay very little, if any tax at all. And so, the anger continued to grow. France had a population that was just about ready to explode. What could push them over the edge? How about a touch of natural disaster? A series of harsh summers and winters left the peasants' harvests in ruin, meaning they had no food or money, and the cost of bread skyrocketed. Of course, the upper classes had massive stocks of grain and wheat, so they were...
Wait, hold on. Is that a picture of Frederick the Great right there? Like, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments down below, but it looks like if that's a picture of Frederick the Great, who's of Prussia, not of either Austria nor of France. I don't even believe Frederick the Great. Wait, is that Frederick the Great? Tell me in the comment sections down below, since I'm not sure if that's either a French general or stuff, but that sure looks like Frederick the Great. I could be wrong. Hold on, let me just do a quick search up. Yeah, sorry that you guys have to. Oh yeah, that is Frederick the Great. Yeah, I got like a picture of him, and yeah, that is Frederick the Great. The Great. But what is he doing with the French? Like I understand, like he could have done something, but so far for the French, he's literally only fighting for Prussia and Great Britain during the 7 Years' War. So what is he doing there? And also, in case you don't know, he digitally added baguette there, since in that photo, Frederick the Great was holding his famous cane.
Actually untouched by this new crisis, but now the poor really were starving, and they began to riot. Women took to the streets, bakeries were raided, and bakers suspected of keeping bread for themselves were sometimes even hanged. Wow, this is really getting out of control. Your Majesty, we need some decisive action. You need to step up and lead us. What will you do? Okay, I've got this. I know. I'll summon the estate's general, and they'll decide what to do. You really are a fat, ill-bred boy. The
Well, that still would hurt.
Estates General was the closest thing France had to a government, apart from the king. It was a purely advisory body and was rarely summoned. In fact, it hadn't been summoned for 175 years prior to this. But with
Wow, that is quite a long time.
in a severe crisis, the king felt the time was right to call on the government to help. The estates
He should have called for the government to help, like right before he went into a further crisis.
was made up of representatives from the three estates, that is, the clergy, the nobility, and everybody else. Okay, thanks for coming, everyone. The first order of business is regarding the clergy and nobility. You all get brand new Porsches. You get a Porsche, and you get a Porsche, and you get a Porsche.
It's like, I don't get, what's the pronunciation of Porsche? It's like, is it Porsche or is it Porsche? And someone please tell me in the comments down below, since I'm too confused on it.
Everybody gets a Porsche.
Also, he was just joking about, the cars and stuff, since he's just trying to show on how the king is not thinking straight on spending all the money.
And now into the second order of business. France is completely out of money. Like, it's never been this bad before. Anyone got any ideas? How about we all get Lamborghinis next time? The king decided that in order to make a decision, they had to come up with a voting system. Okay, the clergy. You have a population of 130,000, so you'll get one vote. The nobility. You have a population of 350,000, so you'll also get one vote. And the third estate. You have a population of 27 million people and make up 98% of the population. Very impressive. You'll get one vote. The third.
Oh wow, that is not very wise of the king. And yes, I do realize that this king isn't the smartest, nor will King Louis the XVI will ever be the smartest king that's ever lived. Well, yeah. Just whatever you do, just don't give like a person a one vote system, or it's just one and one.
They were obviously pretty unhappy with this system because they kept on finding that this would happen. We propose to raise taxes on the third estate. All in favor? All opposed? 2-1. Taxes will be raised on the third estate.
Oh yeah, that's gotta suck.
A motion that says the first two estates are a bunch of poo-poo heads. All in favor? All opposed? 2-1. It's official. We are not poo-poo heads. The third estate realized that any attempt at reform would be outvoted by the two upper estates, and they thought that was kind of lame. So they decided that since they were 98% of the population, they could go off to form their own government, make their own laws, and take over the running of the country. And so, the National Assembly was born. The third estate was now in control, and there was nothing the king could do to stop. Ha! I've locked you all out of your building. What are you
Oh no, the tennis court oath is gonna happen.
going to do about it? We'll probably go find a different building that isn't locked.
Wow, that king really isn't that smart.
Oh, no! The National Assembly did find another unlocked building, just down the road, an indoor tennis court, where on the 20th of June, 1789, they all took the tennis court oath, pledging to continue meeting until the king finally gave in to their demands for more equality and economic reform. This new National Assembly included many of the most educated members of the Third Estate, including two young lawyers by the names of Maximilien Robespierre and Georges Danton. Some members of the first two estates even joined their cause. Some of these men formed a radical new political party called the Jacobin Club and quickly became leading figures.
Yeah, he joined a bit later than the other two, but like the support for it was high.
Many members of the Third Estate simply wanted more equality. A growing number in this Jacobin faction would begin calling for something even crazier, the removal of the king entirely. And this is where fear began to take hold. With such a volatile situation developing, everyone was afraid of something. The king feared his position was under threat, and he called in the military to take position around Paris. The Third Estate heard rumor of the gathering military force, and they feared the king was planning to round them up and arrest them. Maybe he'd even execute them. It also didn't help that the king had just dismissed France's popular finance minister, who had been trying to make reforms himself. It seemed the king was done negotiating. Fear, left unchecked, often boils over into anger, and anger detonates with violence. The angry people of Paris, after centuries of cruel inequality, harsh oppression, even starvation, fearful of having their new movement for reform demolished so soon, decided that it was now or never to take action. Screw reform. They decided they'd do one better. How about revolution? The people of Paris, believing the French military was preparing to attack, decided they should arm themselves. The National Assembly announced the creation of a bourgeois militia, the National Guard, and immediately, many troops from the French military defected over to the revolutionary side. In the early hours of July 14th, 1789, a large crowd stormed and raided the Hôtel des Invalides, a military hospital where they were able to secure a large number of rifles. The bad news was they weren't able to find any gunpowder for their new weapons. The good news was they knew exactly where to get some.
Oh no, it's an ad.
I'm a Dell Technologies advisor. Moi aussi.
And if you're a small business, we're with you.
Come on, I'm not here to react to ads.
A prison fortress and a symbol of royal tyranny towering over Paris, the Bastille. Mid-morning, the crowd gathered around the Bastille and demanded that the man in charge, Governor Delaunay, surrender the prison and hand over the gunpowder. Obviously, Governor Delaunay was like, no way. So he stalled for time by inviting a few members of the crowd in for negotiations. The crowd, still waiting outside, quickly became impatient, and before long, they stormed the fortress, taking on the French troops inside. Your Majesty, we've received word that the people have surrounded the Bastille. Governor Delaunay will hold them off. No need to worry. Actually, Your Majesty, it appears the crowd is now headed away from the Bastille. You see? What did I tell you? Clearly, Governor Delaunay has defeated them and has them on the run. No
Not really. It's more like he got his head cut off and sticked onto a pike.
to worry. Your Majesty, isn't that Governor Delaunay's head on a pike? Well, clearly, Governor Delaunay has taken on the form of a bodiless pike-head deity, and the people are so enamored with him, they're parading him around the city. No need to worry at all. When the National Assembly heard about the violence that had taken place, they had two options. Either one, they denounce it and try to carry on the revolution using peaceful means, or two, they say, damn, you stuck his head on a pike?
And guess which one they chose?
Pretty hardcore. And we love it. Incidentally, they went with option number two. Some historians believe this reaction paved the way for the utter violence and bloodshed that would become the legacy of the French Revolution. This widespread acceptance of violence during the Revolution is also largely credited to the writings of a certain Jean-Paul Marat, a man of science with a horrible skin condition that kept him confined to a bathtub. He began...
Oh my goodness. Well, I mean, if I had to live the rest of my life in a bathtub, I would be happy. Happy since I actually do like being in a bath. Wouldn't mind actually being in one, but, like, that must get annoying, like, for the rest of your life,
A radical newspaper he affectionately named the Friend of the People. Citizens of France, be very afraid. Given the chance, the king and the nobility won't hesitate to massacre us all. The solution is simple. Execute them. Kill every last one of them. Cut off 1,000 heads. And if that's not enough, cut off 1,000 more. Oh, hey, Mr. Squeaky. What are you doing down there? You're so cute. Aw, I love you too, Mr. Squeaky. Mwah. Now, where was I? Oh, yeah. Kill them all. It became one of the most popular publications in Paris during the Revolution and succeeded in spreading ever-increasing fear and anger among the people. In August, leaders of the National Assembly, with help from a certain Thomas Jefferson, adopted the...
Yeah, this was during the time when Thomas Jefferson was the third president of the United States, so this was a U.S.-involved agreement.
Declaration of the Rights of Man and of the Citizen, an incredible document that guaranteed liberty and equal rights to all men. And when I say men, I mean men.
Yeah, so pretty much Wait, did he mean just men as in, the males, or just men in general as, like, either male and female? But considering Jefferson's, record, I would say he meant more as men, meaning either both the women and or the men, or just the men. Correct me if I'm wrong about that in the comments.
Its glaring shortcomings in gender equality, the massively influential declaration would go on to inspire the struggle for liberty and equality across the planet for centuries. However, back in France, the vast majority of the people weren't really so concerned with enlightened ideas of equality as much as they were concerned with the fact that they were still starving. Bread was still expensive as hell and hard to come by. The people felt that one reason nothing had been done yet about the crisis was because the king simply couldn't see the problem. He lived in Versailles, a full 20 kilometers southwest of Paris, and as a result, lived in comfort, separated from his dirty, stinking subjects. On October 5th, a crowd of women, 7,000 strong, decided they'd do something unprecedented. They decided they'd remove that separation and confront the king directly. The women marched all the way to the king's palace in Versailles. Along the way, the crowd continued to grow into the tens of thousands, and when they arrived, they demanded an audience with the king. What are those things outside the palace? They're poor people, Your Majesty. That's poor people? They say they're hungry. Hungry? Then let them eat cake.
Marie Antoinette. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that name, as once again, I'm not from any French descent. So, or have I actually ever taken the language of French, so pretty much she did not actually say let them eat cake. That's what no, she did not say that, but, it was something close to that.
Ow. See, this is the exact BS that led to this whole mess in the first place. You're so out of touch. They're writhing around in the filth, breaking their back to barely scrape by, and they come to you demanding just the basic ability to feed themselves, and you think a slice of cake will sort them out? Well, then let them eat Taco Bell Crunchwrap Supreme.
Alright, they're not that desperate.
Wow. They're not that desperate. Members of the crowd actually managed to break into the palace with the intention of killing the queen, who narrowly escaped through a secret passage in her bedroom. The enraged mob killed several members of the royal guard and raised their heads on pikes, which, if
Which is a real good fashion style these
you haven't
days.
noticed yet, is something they were quite fond of doing. The king had no choice but to come out and talk to the crowd. He agreed to accept his new position, sharing power with the revolutionary government, and to return to Paris with the crowd, removing the separation between king and subject. King Louis had a problem with people constantly raiding his palace, but one thing he didn't have a problem with
No wait,
was people raiding his...
this is the end of the video. He's just doing his sponsorship here. So anyways, if you guys are new, make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe if you want. And make sure to leave a like and go over to OverSimplified and leave likes on his videos and subscribe to him since he does make very awesome content. Anyways, I'll see y'all in the next video, and all the copyright of this video belongs to OverSimplified. And anyways, I'll see y'all next time. Goodbye.